Welcome to the online lectures for information security. In the previous class, we have studied what are the different policies. We have studied what is a policy, what are standards, and what are the different procedures. Now we are going to study the three different types of security policies that are implemented. Now, management defines three types of policy that are according to the National Institute of Institute and Standards and Technology. That is NIST. The three are Enterprise Information Security Policy, EISP, Issue Specific Security Policy, ISSP, and the third one is System Specific Security Policy, that is SYS, that is for System Specific, and SP is your Security Policy. Now we'll begin with the first one, that is your Enterprise Information Security Policy. Now, enterprise can be any business, it can be an organization or an enterprise. So here, enterprise information security policy, it is also called as the general security policy or the organizational security policy. I'm writing SP for security policy. Then information technology IT security policy or information security policy. So these are the different names that can be used in place of enterprise information security policy. Now, this enterprise information security policy, this is based upon the vision, the mission, and the direction of an organization. So the CISP, it is going to set a strategic direction. When you know what an organization is focused on, what they want to achieve, it is going to identify the scope and it is going to tone for all the security efforts within the organization. So what your business is, based upon that, you're going to implement all of your security policies based upon the requirement of the business. So this is the job of the EISP. It is going to set a direction and scope and tone all the security efforts within an organization. Now, an executive level document is created. Now, this EISP, it is basically a 2 to 10 pages long document. So this executive level document, it is usually drafted by the CIO. The CIO is the Chief Information Officer. So the CIO is responsible for drafting the executive level document. Now, what is the things that the EISP is going to do? Now, this EISP, it is going to guide the development, implementation, and the management of all the security programs. So it is going to guide then the next task that EISP is going to do is that it is going to assign responsibilities to different areas of security. It can be the system administration, the information security policies, the maintenance department. So it is going to assign each of them different responsibilities. Then it is also going to address any legal compliance that is according to the National Institute of Standard and Technology. So these are the different tasks that EISP is going to perform. So this EISP, it is going to address compliance in two areas. So what are the two areas? The two areas are, so compliance is basically how the employees are going to agree to comply with the policy, that how they are going to implement it or not. That is going to be the understanding between the employees with the policy. Now this is ensuring meeting requirements, that is you're going to have all the meeting requirements to establish the program and responsibilities and assign therein to various organizational components. Now, as you've seen that EISP, it is focused upon the vision, mission, and direction of the organization. So you need to have all the requirements that that particular organization is going to implement. So when you have all the meeting requirements, you're going to ensure that meeting requirements, they establish the program and responsibility. That is, these requirements, these are meaningful. They are going to perform some specific tasks. So you're going to ensure that these meeting requirements, they establish the program and all the responsibilities that are there for different parts of the organization, or you can say the different organizational components. The next one is it is used for specified penalties and disciplinary action. Now you've got one specific policy is in place, but the employees, suppose there is an employee that is not following that policy. So in order to tune him to follow the policy, you can have some specific penalty, some amount that he needs to pay. This penalty is your disciplinary action, so that no other employee, in fear of that he needs to pay a penalty, he is going to follow the policy. So these are the two things that EISP is going to focus on. The next is the EISP elements. Now, as I told that the EISP is basically a 2 to 10 pages document. So this document, it should include a few things. Now, what are those things is an overview of the corporate philosophy on security. So overview of the corporate philosophy on security is that you need to know what the particular organization thinks security is. So when you know what the corporation thinks the security is, then it becomes easy for you to identify how security needs to be implemented. Then the next point is information on the structure of the information security organization. That is, you need to know the entire structure of the organization. That is how the organization is made. Structure is like it is like a framework. You need to know what is the structure of this organization, how they are formed, what are the different modules, what needs to be protected, what requires full security, and who are the different individuals that are involved fulfilling the security role. Now you need to have these two things, because an individual, now within an organization there are going to be some few number of people that are going to be involved for the security purpose. So you need to give them specific access, and you're going to deny access to the other employees that are not involved within this information security role. Next one is fully articulated responsibilities for securities that are shared by all members of the organization. That is, here you're going to have some specific functions that multiple, that is, if suppose a team is working on a specific project, they require access to some specific database. So you're going to also implement security on these types of shared databases. How you're going to provide security for this shared type of entity. Then fully articulated responsibility for securities that are unique to each role. Now this, you can say that this previous point, it is for some set of employees and employees that are working on a specific project. So each of them require access to the specific database, whereas a few individuals that are involved within this information security for that are going to fulfill this role, that is, these people needs to have some specific access rights. These members of the organizations here, as I told you, an example, it is employees, it can also be any different partners or visitors. Whereas within the organization, you're going to have those specific individuals that are there for fulfilling the security role. The next one is issue specific security policy, that is ISSP. Now this issue specific policy, these are basically these are again written document that is going to be distributed to different users, and they will be agreed to in writing. That is like a contract basis. For a specific issue, you're going to have everything in writing. All users are going to accept it by giving it in writing. So this is issue specific security policy. As organization is going to execute different technologies, you're going to have different operations, you're going to have different things, but you're going to need some certain guidelines that are needed to tell the employees that this technology and this process need to be implemented properly. So there are a number of approaches that can be used to manage this. So coming on to the ISSP, the job of the ISSP is going to address specific area of technology. That is one specific issue only it is going to address. It is going to be focused on one issue. The next one is it requires frequent updates. Now, when you're working on a particular issue, that is, if suppose there is one loophole within an organization, some security update. So when you're making any changes, you're going to have frequent updates within the particular software. How this is going to, you need to identify or you need to know how this is going to be implemented and what are the different drawbacks, sorry, what are the different loopholes that are covered with the recent update. Then the next one is it contains statement on an organization position on a specific issue. That is whether now suppose there is a specific attack. Now how tolerant that particular organization is to that specific attack. What is their position? Whether they can handle that attack or whether they cannot handle that attack. So it is an organization position. So coming to the approaches for managing and creating the ISP, that is creating a number of independent IISP documents. So you're going to create a number of documents that is now issues a number of documents because each and every ISSP is focused upon one specific issue. So as you're creating different ISP documents, these need to be tailored to that specific issue. Then the next one is create a single comprehensive ISSP document. That is, it is going to cover all the issues. You're going to have individuals, then one complete ISSP document that is going to cover all the issues. Then the last one is creating the modular ISSP document that is going to unify all the policy creation, administration, as well as maintaining each specific issue requirement. It is focused on policy creation and administration. That is, when a policy is being created, it needs to be administered by a specific person. That this particular policy, whether everyone is using it or not, whether it is fully functional or not, or whether it requires any updates that need to be identified. And it is also going to focus on maintaining any issue requirement. Coming on to the components of the policy, the first one is the statement of policy. Now, policy should begin with a clear statement of purpose. So the statement of policy, it is going to have the scope and applicability, where it can be used. Then it is also going to have different definitions of the technology that you're using, of the technology that is there within the software. Like within a presentation, whenever you're making a documentation for the project, some short forms are there or some acronyms are there. You need to define each one of them. Then you're also going to have the different responsibilities need to be stated within the statement of the policy. Then the next one is authorized access and usage of equipment. That is, how many users are given access to that specific policy. So you're going to have user access, then fair use, that is what is the correct way of using the policy, and how you're going to provide the protection of privacy. Coming on to the next one, that is the prohibited use of equipment. Now, the prohibited use of equipment means there should not be any misuse or any criminal use or any copyrights of any intellectual property. And you can also have any other restrictions that are given. Then the next one is system management. Now, within the system management, it is going to tell you how the employer is going to monitor or how management is going to store the different materials. This is going to be there, or virus protection, physical security, encryption, and also, as I said, employee monitoring. So these are the things that are included within the system management. Then the next one is violation of policy. Now this is going to be, it is going to have the different, first you're going to have how you're going to report a violation. How a violation is reported: when you know the violation is occurred, then what are the different penalties that you're giving for each violation of policy. Then the next one is policy review and modification. Now, within this policy review and modification, it is not necessary that you're just going to create a policy and you're just going to leave it. You need to keep on reviewing the policy. You're going to take some user feedback, employee feedback, and then you can make modification. This is an important process. So here you're going to schedule the review of the policy for any modifications. Then the next one is the limitation of liability. So this limitation of liability, you're going to have a statement of liability and any other statements if required. That is, if any individual is being caught conducting an illegal activity, that is your liability. So you're going to have a statement of liability here and any other restrictions. So next, third type of policy is the system specific policy. Now, as the previous ISP, you've seen that the issue specific policy, it is a written document, whereas the system specific policy, these are normally coded as your standards or procedures. So these are your standards and procedures that are used for configuration and maintaining your systems. Now these system specific policies, they fall into two types, that is the managerial guidance system specific system policy or technical specific policy. Coming on to the first one, that is your managerial guidance system policy. So this one, as the managerial guidance, you can say that here it is created by the managers. Now, why this is created by managers? So that it can guide the implementation and the configuration of technology. So this is the first thing, that managerial guidance, it is going to first be created by guidance so that you can guide how the policies need to be implemented and what are the different configuration of that specific technology. As well as it is also going to address the behavior of the people. Now it is going to address the behavior of the people so that it is going to support the security of information. That is, they need to be friendly. Any animosities within them, it should not going to come in between the project. So these are the two things that are done by the managerial guidance. The next one is the technical specifications. Now within this technical specifications, what happens is that you're going to have managers. These managers, they work with the system admin to create a managerial policy. So manager is going to sit with the system admin and create a managerial policy. But in order to implement this managerial policy, this system admin, he again needs to create another policy so that this managerial policy, it can be implemented. Now, as he is making another policy to implement this managerial policy, it can be told as it is going to translate the management intent for your technical control into a enforceable technical approach. Now I better give an example for this. Now an example for this is if suppose there is an ISSP, that is an issue specific system specific policy. This is going to require that a user needs to change his password every quarterly. So this system administration, he can implement a technical control within a specific application so that you can enforce that policy. That is, if suppose before the login, you need to change your password, or else you cannot do the login. So this is like an enforcement of the policy. So you're going to have two general methods that are used to implement such type of controls, that are called as your ACL, that is your access control list, and you're going to have a configuration rules. So these are the two things that are going to help translate those technical controls into enforceable approach. So this access control list, they are going to have a list of all the controls that are given, that is, who is going to have access to a specific resources. So this is going to have all the control lists, the different matrices, and the different capability tables. So this access control list, we have studied this in operating systems. So you might have aware, so you're aware with this. So you're going to have different capability tables so that it is going to show you what are the different privileges that are given to users for a specific system. So ACL can restrict access for a particular user. That is, one user might not able to access some specific files within a computer. Then the timing, duration, or even a particular file, it is going to restrict all these different actions. Then you're going to have some different configuration rule policies. That is, you're going to have different configuration codes that are given as input within the system security, that is going to guide how the system is going to be executed. The next type of policy is your combination system specific policy. Now within this combination system specific policy, many organizations, they create one single document that is going to combine the management guidance and technical specific guidance. That is the two types that we've studied previously, the management guidance and technical specific guidance. It is going to combine both of them. Now as you're combining both of them, it is going to guide you in both aspects. That is why many organizations, they make use of both the policies so that you can have a good guide. Now when you're implementing such type of combination system specific policy, care should be taken so that clearly you can articulate the required action. As this is a combination of two different policies, you need to have an eye on how you're giving controls and access for each and every action. The next one is policy management. Now this now these policies, these are normally considered as living documents. Now why the name is given as living documents is that because these documents, they require to be managed and nurtured, as they need to be constantly changing and growing. You just cannot create a policy and you're just not going to keep it. You need to keep on maintaining it. You need to keep on changing you need to keep on updating it, fixing all the bugs and making changes based upon the environment. That is why policy is called as your living document. Now all of these living documents, they need to be properly disseminated and they need to be managed. Now special consideration can be taken by an organization for organizations that are undergoing mergers, or they are having partnerships, or they are having some takeovers. These need to be taking place. So to remain viable, the security policies, they must have a responsible individual that is going to take responsibility of all the policies, whether they are working properly or not, whether it requires any updates, or every employee within the organization is following them or not. The person that is assigned this task, he or she can be called as a policy administrator. Policy administrator. This policy administrator, it is going to see all any, if suppose there are any, this policy administrator, he does not require full knowledge of all the technologies. A basic background of technical requirements is enough for a person to be a policy administrator. Now the job of this policy administrator is that if any changes are done within the policy, he needs to notify all the users that there is a change within it, the specific policy. Now the job of this policy administration is also for creating the revision, that is any updates, and also distribution, that is notify all the employees that there have been changes within the organization, within the policy, and also the storage of the policy. So this is the job of the policy administrator. The next one is schedule for reviews. Now policy, in order that a policy should be effective, it needs to be changed based upon the changing environment. If these policies are not periodically reviewed, so it is not going to provide you with that level of accuracy. So your policies need to be reviewed at least annually to ensure that still that policy is being effective. Then the next one is review procedures and practices. So as the name says, you're going to have reviews and for any procedures and practices. That is, this is a mechanism where one specific individual, he can give feedback upon the revision of the policy. Normally what happens is that in reality, when a policy is being created, it is created by one single person, and it is going to take the review of the higher level manager, and that policy will be created. But you should not completely omit the review of the employee. So that is why this phase is added within the policy management, so that every individual can give his or her recommendation for revision within the policy. All the comments can be taken either anonymously via mail or via. The next one is the specific policy issuance and revision date. Now, what happens many times is that when a policy is being created, people forget to mention the actual date when the policy was created. So it is very necessary that you give the policy issuance date and the revision date. Now, if suppose the employees within an organization, they are using they are not using the updated version of that particular policy, it is going to give you a disastrous result, and you can also get some legal headaches. The last one is the automated policy management. Now, this automated policy management, as the name says, automated. So here, there's you're going to do is that you're going to make some specific work is need to be made automated. That is some policy administration work. This is going to be made automated. Policy management work that will be done by the software itself. So this is the end of the three different policies. Thank you.